I built this shipyard base on top of the shipyard, which is part of the Tides of Fortune DLC on Genesis Part 1 in ARK Survival Ascended. And so can you, because I made a full step-by-step build tutorial on how to build this one yourself. For this build, you need a few things. Of course, you need the Tides of Fortune DLC, because, well, you need access to the shipyard, as well as the Tides of Fortune skin, which we will also use for this build. Beside that, we'll also use some skins from the Bob Talltails DLC, the Frontier skin and the Steampunk skin, although these skins you could definitely switch out with some other skins if you prefer, or you don't own the Bob Talltails DLC. And besides that, I'm also using the free Astraeus custom cosmetic for some of the windows, but also those you can easily swap out even with some greenhouse glass doors, so that you have some windows that way. So you could definitely build this without any mods or cosmetics, but yeah, definitely recommend using those Astraeus skins, because yeah, they add a nice touch to our build. Hello there, survivors, and welcome back to another build tutorial here on my channel. Today I will be showing you how to build this shipyard base. I'm quite excited about this one. It's a creative approach to the shipyard. Just be wary that, well, depending on where you place certain decorations around the shipyard, sometimes it won't let you dock the ship. But as long as you just build where I'm building in this tutorial, it should still all work. At least it's working for me, so hopefully they don't change anything about that. And it means you can have a really unique base on top of the shipyard, which is great if maybe your main base isn't in the ocean, or maybe not next to the ocean, so that you can't have it attached to your main base itself. It offers you a decent amount of space. You can park some Thames, for example the Tide Pub getting in and out of the water. You can have some outdoor crafting stations, even some markets, of course, if you want to trade with people on your server. But most importantly, on the inside you'll have plenty of space for some crafting areas, for some storage, and of course a nice place to hang out with your tribe mates and log out. As always, if you enjoy seeing these types of build tutorials and you want to continue to see more, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and of course feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds you'd really like to see down in the comments below. Okay, so quickly before we get started, very important to note that, well, according to some testing I've done, is if you place any decorations on this layer as well as on these like little layers in between, it might end up not being able to dock your ship again. So, you know, you want to start with the ship in the dock to build it. Well, first of all, because then you will know which side you want to build it at. We want to build it at the back of the building. But yeah, make sure you don't build anything on these parts. At least that seemed to be blocking it for me. It will actually tell you if you try to craft a new ship, it will tell you it's blocked by this item. So then you can, well, quickly try and search for the one that is causing your issues. But with just the building at the back that I've done, it should be totally fine and it should work. At least it worked for me, so hopefully they don't change that up. Because I think it is kind of cool to be able to have a base on the back of these shipyards. So again, it's very important to start with a ship docked, because, well, then you know the direction of the ship, and we want to be building this at the back. That makes the most sense, to not look too weird. So yeah, we want to go here towards the back of the building and then take out a foundation. So unfortunately, there's no snap points on the shipyard, so this first bit is going a little bit by feeling, and what we want to do is kind of line it up here. Luckily we do have the railings of the platform to line it up with, so we want to make sure that it's not too far over the edge, and then make sure that's as straight as possible by looking at all the lines we have. And then we can of course see it's not clipping on the outside. We can bring this all the way across to the other side. Slightly clipping on the outside, that's actually a really good sign. That might mean that we'll make it work on the other side too, because that's the most difficult part. Then we want to take out 3 ceilings here before we continue with a quarter ceiling, and then afterwards we can go with 3 normal ceilings again. That should reach the other side, and then we should be able to add our foundations all the way. And again, this probably will have a little bit of an overlap. You might want to try and, you know, play around, perfect this, but this is, you will always have a little bit of an overlap, so you kind of have to go for the least amount that is still acceptable to you. And if you've done that, we want to expand this to be 3 wide here on this side, and as far as we can get over here. We can then pick up these ceilings. We won't need them anymore. That was just to kind of line up both sides to the same snap point, and we can also fill in this side almost all the way. Then first of all, we actually want to pick up these last 2 foundations. We want to switch those out. We take out the quarter foundations right over there. Then we want to have 2 full foundations to finish off that bit, and then we can actually fill in these edges with some quarter foundations as well. This is to realign it so that we can actually have a gateway right over there looking out over the ship, which is pretty nice to have. And we'll do the same thing over here on the other side of the building. So again, picking up those foundations, having the quarter foundations around the edge, and then having 2 full foundations right there in the middle, so that we can have our gateway at the very end of the platform. And of course, what we do on one side, we will also need to be doing on the other side, because this whole building is pretty much symmetrical. There's a minor change for the staircase, but we'll get to that later. We'll have those same quarter foundations there, over here, and then bring in those full foundations, and of course, fill in the gap over here. Just like that. I'm hoping that everything that I do here is also possible on official. I don't know what counts as messing and what just counts as placing foundations on this shipyard, so you'll have to do some trial and error yourself. Then we can have a nice gateway here, and we can have another gateway right over on the other side, which again is going to be some very nice looks. We also want to change these to the Tides of Fortune skin, and personally I would change the entire floor to the Frontier skin. I think that looks a lot nicer. I just like this wood a lot more, so we're going to do that for the entirety of this floor. Unfortunately, we do not have the skin that matches with the shipyard, so yeah, let's also make sure that we skin all these ones over here on this side, and then we have our starting platform ready. Now, of course, it's not the entire build, but it is at least kind of the foundations for the main building. So yeah, we want to bring out our pillars here from the corner. We want to raise them up to be 4 high in total. We'll do that for both sides. And then here in the middle, we can actually raise up some more pillars all the way up like that. And of course, we want to do the same thing on the other side. We can't do it everywhere, of course. Not yet anyway. We want to at least have these pillars over here, and of course another pillar here over on this corner. This pillar we don't have a snap point for, but we'll be filling in that later. For now, we can continue to the other side, raise this up to be 4 high, and same on this corner, raise that up to be 4 high, and continue this by doing the same over here. And again, we can't do that corner just yet, but of course we can also raise up these pillars here in the middle, which is also where we'll be lining up some doorways. So we first want to just place these pillars kind of like forming a skeleton for the base that we're working on. So we can start here at the top, and we can actually go all the way across the top layer, then bring this down except for the bottom one where we want to have a double door. We can actually have that double door also on the other side so that you can exit there as well for the walkway. We can do the same thing here, and then of course we can also fill in those walls just to kind of get an early start on shaping up this first layer of the building. So there we go. So we bring those across by 2, and then actually once we've done that, we can bring down the pillar as far as possible so that it matches up with the rest of the building. And of course we can do the same thing here, filling in those walls at the top and filling this in until we reach the door. And then, of course, bringing this pillar all the way down so it matches the rest of the structure. We can also bring these walls across the top on these sides just to kind of build in more for this building. And then we'll see that it already kind of starts to take shape a bit more. So there we go. We have the basic shapes in place now. So for this side of the building, again, it's a bit more special since we're working with this like weird slope that's going up. So we want to take out our quarter walls and build those up around the bottom. Then we also want to bring them up a little bit more and create a shape like this. So basically creating a nice hole for where we can have a door in a little bit. And since we're doing everything the same on both sides, at least for now, we can do the same thing over here, creating the space for the door quite easily. And then we can fill in the rest of the wall just like so. That at least this part is ready to go. We can also, of course, take out our doorway and enter it right over there. And then here on the outside is actually very easy. We just want to place down some ceilings to kind of bridge the little gap that forms so that it connects to the walkway that we already have. And of course, we can skin that to be the frontier skin because that just looks a lot nicer in my opinion. Then if we take out our quarter walls again, we can also add them in over here right next to the gateways that we have on the side of our building, just to make sure that we fill in those remaining gaps on those sides. And again, we're going to leave the gateways open because we just want to enjoy the views and the view of the ship. But of course, if you really wanted to, you could add gates in them to close them off that way, or maybe add some frontier windows in them to make some nice windows if you want to make sure that it's kind of closed off for other people. Depends on your own preference, of course. It's a really easy addition. Either just fill it in with walls to make it a window, or add a gateway, or at the gate itself, I mean to the gateway, so that you can close the gate if you don't want people to get in to your base. But I kind of like the open design and all the light that brings with it. And we're not quite done with the quarter walls yet. We want to bring them here around the outside as well, facing the rest of the shipyard, and we can make a nice shape like this, which is where we build a window. We'll do the exact same thing here over at the other side. So also over here, we're just gonna kind of fill this all in like that and make sure that we have a nice shape for a window. Then we can take out the walls, and we actually want to take out the stone doorway, short doorway first, to kind of create the top of our window frame. And then underneath it, we want to have the normal stone doorway. There we go. The same thing on the other side. Actually also take out our pillars, and we want to add 3 of them here along the side of that window. And we can do the exact same thing here on the opposite side of the building. So again, we want to have those 3 pillars going up. Same over here. And there we go. That finishes that shape for now. Then we want to take out the quarter walls again. And here around the outside, we can make those same window shapes. So we just want to circle the whole building like this. And do the same thing over here on this side. Just so that we get those nice window frames ready. So again, the short door frame at the top, and then of course the normal door frame right underneath it to get those window shapes. And of course on the other side of the shipyard, we'll do the exact same thing by going around with our quarter walls, and then once again over here, so that we have the whole shape complete. Then of course making our windows just like this, and there we go. Then we have all the shapes in to the building. We can then bring out our doors itself so that we can start filling in all these windows as well as the doorways, so that we can actually have the windows themselves. There we go. Filling in one side. That's why we waited a little bit, so that we can do it all at once, of course. Over here too. Then on this side as well. There we go. So yeah, we have a bunch of windows now. Now to skin all of this, first of all, I'm going to use the Astraeus custom cosmetic. It's a free custom cosmetic And if you use the third variant of that, it actually provides some really nice skins that we can use as the windows. Those grates, I really like those. You can also use the second variant, I believe, for some more metal-y grape decorated window skins. They're actually also pretty nice. But yeah, I really like these windows for these types of builds, and it's a free cosmetic, so definitely an easy one to recommend. But if you don't want to do that, you could always use greenhouse glass doors so that you still have some kind of window. So that is, of course, the start of it all. And then basically, for the whole rest of the structure, we want to start changing all the skins, except for the pillars, to the Tides of Fortune skin. Now, we are going to be switching around some of those wall variants so they look a little bit nicer. But for now, we can just kind of go across the entire walls and make sure that we skin it all so that we can transform this to that nice new Spanish colonial skin that we got with Tides of Fortune, which is definitely a really nice skin to build with. I've really been enjoying doing some projects with this. I think it looks pretty nice, and there's a lot of opportunities to make some awesome builds with it. So yeah, there we go. We are just starting off by changing all of these skins, but of course we will be changing up some of the orientations in a little bit. For now, we just want to make sure that we get it all. So here above the doorway, we actually want to flip these skins, the Z-axis, so that we don't have too many lines, but we have a double line there instead. And we can do that above the door as well, just to make these walls a little bit cleaner. We don't really have to do a lot here, except for this one in the middle. We want to flip that around. And of course, next to these windows, we also want to be adding in those 3 pillars here on the outside. So let's quickly add those in to complete that look. And then we can do the same thing over here. We want to add in those 3 pillars on the outside. And of course, then we can also change the skins and the orientation of the ones we did. Just as like we did over there, we want to do the same over here. I'm not going to show it in the tutorial just to save us some time. But yeah, change all the skins. Then next up, for those pillars, we want to take out the steampunk skin from the Bob Tall Tales DLC and change all the variants to the second one, the stone pillar variant, which is a really nice one, which I think matches with these Tides of Fortune skins very, very well. Because the Tides of Fortune pillar is nice, but it doesn't really fit to be kind of used in a building like this. It's more like a standalone supporting pillar with nice details. Yeah, we want to use these stone pillars instead. So there we go. After applying all the steampunk skins and changing the variants to the second stone one, then we are ready to go for this side. And of course, you want to do the same thing on the other side. You can see this really helps transform this building into something very nice already. But of course, still very flat, and we definitely need to start adding some details around the outside before we start connecting the whole build above with the nice bridge. So first of all, let's take out these stone triangles. Let's add them in right over here to kind of get like a little roof over top those balconies that are already there by the design of the shipyard. So we just want to add them in here, and then we can skin them with the Tides of Fortune skin, just for a very simple addition, but it does help make this whole wall less flat and just look a little bit nicer with that curved balcony, which is an awesome shape, by the way, because that would be very tricky to get yourself in ARK. But now it's just built in by default. Then we want to take out our wooden ramp. We want to add them here right above our windows again to add in some depth and detail. We want to do the same thing here on this side of the building, and of course once more right over here. Then we can take out our slope walls, shallow slope walls, and add them along the sides. And of course we're also going to continue to do that for all of those ramps we've just placed down, just to make sure that it looks a little bit more supported and we get some nice details around the outside of our building. Once we've done that, we want to take out our scaffolding pieces, which is also from the Bob Tall Tales DLC, and we can add them underneath here for some extra support, just to again make sure that this all looks a little bit nicer, a little bit less flat, and way more interesting. We want to continue to do that for all of these, and then we can take out the frontier skin and make sure that we skin those woods, because I think this darker wood is just a bit of a nicer contrast with the main building. So we want to, of course, do that for all of those additions. And then finally the ones over here, and you'll see quite easily we've added a lot more depth and interest to these walls right now. We also want to take out these ramps and actually use them here on the inside. We want to make sure that we have a ramp coming from that door here, even though there's already a ramp, or there is a little lip because of those quarter walls. So we just want to make sure that it connects back up to the rest of your building. Then to start with the next layer, first of all, we want to just start laying down our ceilings right on top and just adding that other layer here. Here along the front, we actually want to expand this by one more layer that sticks out. Then we can also start to add a little overhang along the sides by adding in these quarter ceilings. We can do the same thing here on the opposite side, just to make sure that this has a little bit more depth going on. And then finally, we can actually also expand this even more by adding two more ceilings here on the outside, so that we can make our staircase there. And then just to make it easier, it is a nice time now to make sure that we have these stairs coming in. They should almost kind of line up with this walkway over here. And if you want to reinforce that look that it's actually connected, you can of course add a little bit of foundations here, which we can then all skin to the frontier skin, as well as all of these ceilings, of course, because, well, I just like the look of this wood way more. And if you don't, of course, you're free to keep the normal wood textures instead. But yeah, we want to just make sure that we change all of this. And then we have the start of a staircase. You could, of course, add foundations. I'm not actually sure if they might be blocking the spawn, so you might not want to do that. But at least here for the connecting part, I think it looks pretty nice. And then, of course, what we also want to do is add some railings around the sides here of this staircase, as well as of this little platform up here. And if you want to, you can even reinforce this, of course, with some pillars, just to make it look all a little bit nicer. And of course, the frontier skin is our friend here. We want to kind of change all of these so that it all matches up with each other. And if you really want to, you can add a quarter railing there, and then from there we can kind of try to snap another railing, get the right snap point, and just make sure that this is all connected in and you have that safety railing. But at least this will allow us to get up to the next layer, which is going to be really convenient, of course, for the access to the rest of the build. Over here, we want to make sure that we have a staircase going up before, once again, we get to some ceilings. Of course, first of all, we want to have two normal ceilings there. Then we want to have our quarter ceilings, and then two more normal ceilings. And then if we bring out another staircase, it should once again line up with this building down here, which means then we can also start to bring the ceilings over here and add that all the way over. And of course, the overhang at the very end, which means we can take out all quarter ceilings as well, add those around the outside. And because we have the staircase leading up to this top layer, we don't really need to add it on this side. You could if you really wanted the symmetry, but I, in my original design, decided to only have the staircase on one side and, you know, kind of use the space. Don't need to worry about adding another door over here on this side. So then we want to also fill in this platform. We want to make that 3 wide. So of course, next to all of these ceilings, we want to kind of expand the shape. And then here in the middle, of course, we have a layer of all quarter ceilings to make sure that it all matches up with each other. We can also already add in these slope walls just to kind of make sure that we don't have any gaps. There we go. And before we build anything of those side buildings, we want to kind of focus on this bridge that is going to connect the two. So first of all, we want to take out our wooden roofs, and right here above the gates that we have on the inside, we want to make sure that we add our 3 roofs next to each other to kind of start this curve. Then we want to take out our ramps and continue this up a little bit, just like so. And once we've done that, we actually want to take out our ceiling. Then we should be able to have a layer of ceilings there, and of course a layer of ceilings here before we kind of close it up with a layer of those quarter ceilings right down the middle, just so that we can kind of shape up a nice curve, which looks a lot nicer of course than just having it be a normal straight building. And we can also make sure to skin this all with the Tides of Fortune skin, so that we get those really nice textures that it has underneath, with a lot of those supportive beams and lovely little details. Still, we can have this ceiling of course as the frontier skin, because now we have a double layer, which is quite useful. We can also take out our stone railings and make sure that we add them underneath here. And we want to flip the railings, add those 2, and then finally a quarter railing in the middle, so that we have some nice supports here around the outside of this curve. We want to, of course, change those skins to the Tides of Fortune skin to kind of have that nice accent piece going on there. Then again, we want to take out our railings, first around the roofs and ramps, then we want to flip it around for those ceilings, and then the quarter one to finish it all. And of course, then we can skin them so that we have those nice supports coming in, and just adding a bit of extra detail along the side of this building here. Then we want to take out our sloped wooden wall. We want to flip it around and then add them of course in those corners, just like this. And then we can do the same thing over here, but with the shallow one, to get this whole shape started. And of course we have a little bit to go now because of this double layer. Then we want to bring our wooden wall. We want to have one over here and one over there, and of course 2 more on the opposite sides to start filling this all in. And then finally we want to take out our wooden quarter walls, the second version, and then fill it all the way in from one side to another, so that at least kind of like the bottom layer of this bridging area is ready to go. There we are. And of course, once again, this entire ceiling as well as the stairs, we can switch to the frontier skin, just because it looks a lot nicer in my opinion. Of course, we can do that all the way through this platform, so that we have all this already looking the way that we want to and the way that we like it. So we'll fill this all the way in with this right skin, just for that nicer looking wood. There we go. And then yeah, we have the whole new building that we need to work on. We have the building in the middle and the 2 buildings along the sides. And we'll start here in the middle with building up the skeleton. We want to have 3 pillars here as well as 3 pillars over there. We can do the same over here. And then here right in the middle of the building, we want to also have 2 pillars. We can also raise these up to be 3 high in total. That means that we still need a half pillar on top of these other ones. And then of course we also want to be sure to take out the frontier skin and change the looks of those, because they will provide with some nice contrast to the building in this color for sure. Then of course we can take out our pillars again and basically do the same thing here. So 3 high pillars, first of all on the corner and the one next to it, and then here in the middle we want to have another 3 pillars coming up, and then half pillars to match the height everywhere, and then skin them so they provide a bit more contrast with each other. There we go. All the way from top to bottom and from bottom back up. So first up, we can actually fill in the middle all the way, and then we can also just go off to the side with our quarter walls just like this, so that we can start filling it all in. And this also means, of course, we can do the exact same thing on the opposite side. Bring this all the way across to the end, and the same thing over here, just to start filling it in everywhere. Then we want to take out the walls again. We want to have 2 walls over here, 2 walls over there, and then continue this all the way along. There we go. Then over here we want to take out our doorways. We actually want to have 2 of them over there and 2 of them over here. There we go. The same thing on this side of the building, and then some normal doorways underneath to again create those tall window shapes that we've also done below, but now this time using these wooden textures. Then we can actually add in the doors over here too, so that we have some beautiful windows in a little bit. So there we go. We can just fill these all in, and of course the windows themselves we want to skin as the Australia skin for some really nice grates and some nice little windows made out of doors. There we go. Then we can take out all quarter ceilings, add them here underneath the windows just to create some extra depth on this building. So we will do the same thing here on the opposite side. There we go, all the way along. And then finally what we also want to do is bring out our beams, have them here along the sides as well as around the front, of course, just again to create some nice shapes here and some extra depth for the entire building. So first of all, add those beams there, and then those beams over here. There we go. Finally. And then we want to take out our wooden quarter stairs, just as some extra supports underneath these, again to add in even more depth and details along the outside. Now the entire walls of this little bit we want to actually paint silver or any kind of white tint to make it stand apart. And then all of these additions that we've made underneath the windows, we want to switch to the Frontier skin for that nice bit of extra contrast between them. That way we should get some lovely details. Of course, we want to do the exact same thing over here on this side. There we go. And just keep it all going a little bit longer to get some really nice looks. And again, it really helps breaking up the flat walls that we otherwise would have. Then also from these pillars, we want to take out our little ramps all the way across the top here. We can do the same thing on this side. There we go. Just as some little details. You can skin them in the Frontier skins. You can skin them in the Tides of Fortune skin. Kind of whatever you prefer. But they do add the extra little bit of shape to the building right above the window. So we'll do that above all of these right now, just to get them in place. Oh, there we go. And then of course also make sure to skin them in the same way as we did on the other side. So either Tides of Fortune or the Frontier skin, or whatever you prefer the look of. And then finally what we want to do over here along this side is having a few quarter ceilings, just to make sure that we can actually build a roof above this. And also it will help with making this all feel less flat. So first of all, let's place them all down all the way to the end. Then take out our Frontier skins again for those ceilings, just to make them look a bit nicer. And the same thing here on the opposite side, making sure that we have that look covered everywhere. Then here around the outside, we want to start filling this in. So first of all, we'll take out our walls, we'll flip them around, and we'll build them up just like this. And of course, the final layer will be some water balls right over there. Then we can take out our walls again and build the same thing here on the opposite side. Finally adding that layer of the quarter walls. And then very important, of course, we also Want to add the double door frame here. If you want to, you can add doors, or you can leave it open, kind of whatever you prefer more. And then here above the final edge that we've built so far, we of course want to make sure that we have the whole beam going across from one side to another. So we'll do that right here. Just making sure that it all looks good, and of course is switched to the right skin over here. Then we want to take out our quarter walls. Here we want to start with the normal one right down below, and then the other variant above it, just like so. Then of course having our slope walls right next to it to give a little bit of shape. And then here on the top you can actually rotate it the right way around. And in the middle, of course, we can have our walls, and we can have some pillars going up along the sides. We can skin those to the frontier skin, and then these to the frontier window skins for a nice windows here at the side of the building. And before we add in the roof, of course, we want to make sure that we do the same thing over here. So we want to flip those quarter walls, add in those slope walls, and then finally add in the windows themselves and the pillars along the sides. Switch those to the frontier skins and these to the frontier windows to get that same lovely window effect everywhere. And then we're definitely ready for the roof. We want to start here right around the edge. We want to go 3 wide for now and just fill in this first section of the roof here. There we go. So 3 ceilings or 3 roofs like that. Then we want to do the same thing over here on this side, and then you can see we're not going to get in like a nice uneven roof or anything that we could easily make work. But then you can see over here that there's actually a little bit of a problem. We can fill in 1 more layer to choosing just 1 random side of what we've got so far, but then a quarter gap remains. Fortunately, of course, we do have those quarter pieces, although they don't always match up as nice as the full roofs, but it's better than leaving it open or not being able to skin it at all. So once we've done that, of course, we want to make sure that we skin this entire roof so that we can bring out those lovely Tides of Fortune colors, and we can do that all the way across, even the little quarter walls. And there we go. And then here in the top layer, we basically want to change 2 of those, probably these 2, to be some windows, so that we have extra ways of getting light into the main building, and also just adding a few extra details here to the roof of this build. And again, all of these wooden balls, the wooden slope balls, quarter walls, and everything that isn't skinned, we want to paint either silver or another whitish color for a really nice effect. Okay, and then for these other side buildings, we want to start by having a pillar go up too high. Then we leave, 2 quarter ceilings space, and then another pillar. Then the same over here. Then we leave a little bit more space over here, so basically double. And then we can do the same thing over here, just to kind of get a little bit of a skeleton down to use as reference when starting to finish the rest of the walls and the build. So we'll do the same thing, of course, here on the opposite side, but also at the other side of our shipyard. We want to continue this same kind of pattern with our pillars, just to get that skeleton of the building down over here. So we'll just quickly place all of these pillars down. There we go. Then of course we also want to make sure that we add in our beams around the bottom here, just to give it a little bit more support. We'll just do it around the sides for now. There we go. All the way around the edge, and then we can do that same over here, of course, just making sure that we have the edge going. Of course not there, because that's going to be a doorway, but for the rest of this we can keep it all going. And then here around these corners, we actually want to place a beam there. It will stick out, but that is actually what we want for this one. So just want to make sure that we have that beam sticking out on those corners. And we actually also want to have these beams sticking out in a few more places. Basically everywhere where we have a pillar, but even here in the middle we want to add one just to add some extra depth along the sides of this layer of the building. So we'll do the same thing over here and just making sure that we have all those pieces sticking out. Of course, we can do that on the opposite side of the shipyard as well. So we want to add all those. We don't need to do it here, of course, because we already have the beams over there. And then we can just do it wherever we can fit it in over here. We want to take out those scaffolding pieces then next. And we want to have them here underneath. It can be a little bit tricky to get the right snap point. Just kind of cycle through them. And we want to add them up to here, not at the end. We're going to do something different there. So the same here, don't need it at the end, but from this one on, we just want to add those scaffolding pieces as some extra supports. And of course, it's going to create some extra interest and depth along the side of the whole building in general. So it's a pretty nice addition in that sense. So just those, not the ones at the very end. It's going to be something more special there. So for now, we just add in all of those supports like that, which adds in a great deal of extra depth to our building. We want to take out our quarter walls. We want to just fill in those little gaps here like that. And then the same thing over here on the opposite side. So there we go, just filling in those gaps like this just to get us started. And then actually it's going to be very simple. We just want to fill in the entire wall with our wooden walls. It's very, very simple. Of course, it's not going to look like that. The only exception is right over here. That's where we want to have the double doorway. But the rest of this is all just going to be full walls. It's not going to stay full walls, but for now, we just want to place them all in here. On this side of the shipyard, it's going to be a lot easier. We do not have the staircase here, so it's just all going to be full walls going from one side to another to get this whole building started. Then here on the opposite side, we of course want to have a double door right there in the middle, which we'll use to access the balcony that we'll be adding. So we want to do that for both sides. And after that, we can just kind of start filling in the rest of this wall. So we'll have some full walls going up here and of course going all the way across. And then we can fill in the gaps with our quarter walls just like so. We actually also want to add in an extra pillar here. So we want to have pillars over there and then a half pillar on top of it. We also want to have some beams, one there and one there. And then finally up here, we want to have a layer of all quarter walls and our shallow slope walls to give shape to the rest of this building. And of course, we want to do the exact same thing here on this side of the building. So again, we'll bring out our walls like this. We'll have our beams at the bottom. We'll have our pillars going up and our little half pillars above there. We can have our quarter walls there in the middle and also fill in this gap so that we have the whole building there. And then of course add our shallow slope walls to give shape to the whole build. Then we can add our doors here at the very end, of course, as well as here along the side so that we can actually enter the build. And then we just need to start adding in our balcony here. So we want to add in a few of these triangle ceilings. We, of course, want to make sure that we have a nice railing going around the edge. And then finally, as some supports, well, they don't make any sense yet, but they will. Some extra scaffolding pieces underneath. So then we can go to the opposite side and, of course, also create that little balcony over here. So again, having the railings around the edge. And finally, adding in those supports already. There we go. And then we actually want to take out our frontier skins and we can start skinning this entire building Some of them we'll leave open, like this one. We won't skin that wall just yet, but the rest of the build, we're all going to change to those frontier skins to create a nice contrast with the build so far. There we go. And we can just continue along the edge and switch all of these things to the frontier skin to get a really nice look for this building. There we go. And of course, we'll keep it going all the way around. Again, this one here we'll leave normal, but all the rest will do the same thing. Here, another one. Those are going to be windows in a little bit. And then there we go, the final few bits over here. Then we can still use the frontier skin, but change it to the glass. We can have a window there, a window here, and then the same windows right over there. Of course, we're going to be doing the same on this side. Let's start by adding in the windows in the right spots. And then, of course, we can take out our frontier skin again. And once again, make sure to change all of this to the right skin to transform the look of this whole side of the building into that nice dark contrasty wood, which definitely will look very nice. So yeah, we're just gonna go around and skin all of those pieces. There we go. And quite quickly that will help transform the look of our build, of course. There we go. We're almost there, and then we can start worrying about the roof next. There we are, the final bits. Just some more quarter walls there, and there we go. So now we can already start to see it all taking shape. There's still a few details that we need to add in though. Alright, so here around the final edge, we want to have some quarter walls there, and we actually want to have 3 quarter walls coming down all the way over on that side. Then over here we can do the same thing, so the 2 quarter walls there, and then the 3 coming down over from that side as well. We can then take out a full wall, add that underneath them. There we go, just like this. And of course, just as everything so far, we want to make sure that we do the same thing over on this side. So we're just kind of wrapping this whole shape and getting ready to add some nice details here at the end of our building. There we go. We want to take out our pillars, and we actually want to go down with 2 full pillars from each side here. There we go. That will give us a pretty nice look to get going. We can of course do the same thing on the other side. Just adding in those supports. There we go. And then we also want to make sure that there's a beam in between there to kind of connect it all back up again with each other. Then we'll have 2 quarter walls here going around the front. And once again, same thing on the other side. So the 2 quarter walls we want to have here as well. Then we can take out our shallow slope walls, which should kind of meet up in the middle there to create a nice shape. We can do the same thing over here. And then our normal slope walls underneath that to create a nice archway, which we want to have, of course, on both sides of the building. Now those scaffolding pieces from the balcony would also be lining up. Then we can take out our roofs. We can add them here underneath. And then finally we can add in our ramps to get that final look. And we get a very nice arch. We also want to make sure that we add some railings here along the inside just for some extra details. And then finally, of course, it means that we can switch all of this to the frontier skins to get those really nice looks going for these extra bits that we've just added on. There we go. Same over here. Just to make sure that it all blends in again with each other. And you can see that that arch just adds a really nice shape here to the end of the building. So, of course, here on the other side, we also will want to change the skins. But first of all, we also want to fill in the inside here. So we want to have our ramps. There we go. Then we want to have our roofs. Awesome. And of course, those railings around the edge for some extra detail. And then we can continue to skin everything to be the frontier skin and get the right look here. There we go. That's looking very nice already. Just a few more skins to go on this side. Awesome. And again, just gets that nice arch going for a nice look to the build. And then it's time to add, well, the roofs on top of the building itself. So once again, we want to take out our ramps. We of course want to add in an overhang along the side, but also on the front. So we can just kind of start filling this whole shape in like this until it meets up with the building in the middle. We also want to have the overhang over here, which means we have a tiny little gap where we just want to have some water ramps to fill that edge in. And then of course we can continue the same way on the other side of our building by just making this roof complete like so. So we can continue this, of course, have the overhang there as well, and then finally some quarter bits to fill it all in. Then we can take out our beam and make sure to add it along the top here. But we also of course want to change the look of this to the frontier skin just to keep it all in theme for this side building. There we go. Change all the looks, which I think looks quite nice, unless of course you want to keep the normal wood. If you prefer that, you can definitely do so. But yeah, there we go. We got a nice looking side building, different kind of roofs, and then of course we just need to do the same thing over here on this side. So again, we take out our ramps. We want to make sure to have that little overhang on the front and on the sides, and just keep filling this in until we meet up with the rest of the building. Still get the overhang in here, fill in the little gap there, and then of course continue the roof on the other side of the building, making sure that we still have that little overhang here. Fill those quarter pieces in, and then just filling in the rest of the roof all the way to the very end. There we go. And then of course adding the beam across the top before we change it all to the frontier skin. And get that look consistent on both sides of the building. And then we're very nearly done. Well, we're done kind of with the main building after this, but of course still more to add to the shipyard itself. So there we go. You can see that already looks really good. We got plenty of layers and little details everywhere. And if we now go inside, you'll see we got a bunch of space in here, a nice room. Then we got this room. You can still add another floor on top if you want to. And then of course we also have this room, access to our balcony, and this connects back to the stairs, of course, which we also have some room below on the first layer. But we're not completely done yet. We're going to build a few extra workshop places or breeding spots or parking spots that you can utilize to tie in the final edges of the build. So here around the outside, we want to add a few of these extra quarter foundations just over there, so that we have a little ledge basically to walk on, just so that we can kind of tie some areas together. We're going to do the same thing over here, and then we can take out our ramps. Actually, we want to have a few ramps here just over the other ramp, just to keep the snap points intact. So we'll do the same thing, of course, on both sides of the building. There we go. Bring this down, and then we can have some foundations over here, which you can bring out all the way to the edge again, and we can create this little platform. So a 3x4 basically. And we'll do the exact same thing here on the opposite side. So we just want to add this all in and make sure that we can build on that. Once again, of course, just as we did before, we probably want to change all of these skins to the Frontier skin because they look nicer, and I think they blend in a little bit better than the default vanilla would. So we just want to change all these skins, and there we are. Then we can take out our pillars, and on the corner of these platforms we can raise them up to be too high. Of course, again, we can do the same thing here on the opposite side just to get these platforms ready. Then we also want to add in some railings. We want to have some railings around the front, and I would at least have some railings around part of this side. You might want to keep this open so you can still use those walkways over there. And of course, for both sides it applies to be the same, so we just want to add those railings in place. And once again, we can of course change this all to the Frontier skins because that looks a little bit nicer. There we go. And the same on this side. Just looks a bit better if it's all the Frontier skin. There we go. Then what we want to do is take out all water ceilings and make sure that we add them here around the very edge. So just to connect those pillars, we want to have all quarter ceilings, and we can actually skin those right away as well so that they match the right vibe. And there we go. We can of course do the same thing over here on the opposite side, just having those water ceilings to connect those pillars to get ready for the roof that we might want to build on top of here. So once we've done that, we can actually take out our shallow sloped wall. We can place one right up here, and of course the other one on the other side, and we can do that for all of these just to get the shape of the roof in basically. Then we want to take out our water walls. We can fill in the pieces in between them. Once again, take out our shallow slope walls. We finish that shape of the roof, but we can also add in some supports here underneath to keep that shape going even more. There we go. That just adds a little bit of an extra shape. We also do it here along the sides just to shape up this building a little bit better. And then actually to add in some more details, we can actually have some railings underneath here. There we go. And then in the middle, we want to flip them around and actually add them here along the side too, just again to add in some details. And we definitely want to make sure that we switch all of this to the Frontier skins, just to keep those looks the same all over. There we go. And then finally along that side we can do it as well. And then we almost have this little shed ready. All we need to do really is to add all ramps on top. We want to snap here to the edge of these quarter ceilings so that we have a small overhang on the outside without having to do too much work for it. And then just fill in the entirety of the roof for a nice little parking spot for some tames, or of course creating some nice little outdoor workshops on top of your shipyards. It just adds a little bit more and a little bit of extra character around the place, I think. So yeah, definitely a nice touch to make. Yeah, you can see a little bit of space here, whether you want to park something or you want to make a little workshop, both will do. Of course, now that we've done it once, we need to do it a second time. So also here on the other side, we want to be sure to start shaping up this roof. There we go. We can do the same on both sides, just to be sure we can connect them, of course, with our quarter walls. And then shape up the rest of the roof here on the top, but also here below. You want to add a little bit more shape to it. So for all those corners, we want to have those shallow slope walls. We can also add them around these edges. And there we go. Then we want to bring out our railings for some additional details. And then finally flip it around for the final railings around the place to really add those details in. And then of course take out our frontier skin to change the look of all of this. There we go. And then the final few. And then once again for the roof, making sure that we snap it right so that we instantly have a little half overhang. And then we can fill it all in to the other side so that we have a little roof for another little workshop place also on this side of the building. There we go. And of course, finally, the beams across, actually. Apparently I placed it there. Don't need it there. We can, of course, skin it all to the frontier skin. And then we have those, well, little workshops or parking spots on both sides of your shipyard. And with that, yeah, that's kind of it. That is the whole build. You get some nice layers on top of your shipyard, which means you can build it pretty much everywhere. Just make sure that you're clear of the platform so that you can still, well, set sail and, of course, return to dock. So now we can drop down and we can dock it again, which is exactly what we want, of course, because otherwise it's kind of pointless to build on a shipyard. But yeah, it's a really cool opportunity. It means you can build this base pretty much wherever you want. Just be careful if you're adding decorations to not add it right directly next to the ship, because that, at least for me, was it causing not to dock anymore. And this is then the fully finished version. As you can see, the middle bit, you want to paint all the flipped around wooden bits to a silver color or any whitish color that you prefer. Or, I mean, you could do whatever color you want, of course, but you can see the contrast works really well in that case. And just in general, I think it's a pretty fun base. It's an easy one because you can build it wherever you want. I, of course, built it near the island where I also built my trading outpost. If you're wondering where this is located, it's right over here on the map. But, of course, the shipyard, pretty much you can plop it down wherever you want and build a nice base. You can still decorate and place things around on the shipyard. Just as I said, not in these little hallways right next to the ship. That's, I think, what it doesn't like, and it won't let you dock anymore, which is of course what you want to avoid. But yeah, you can see you can park some of your tames, probably of course the ones that can easily go in and out of the water, because, well, you are kind of stuck on the water if you build on the shipyard. But if this is kind of like an outpost for you to set sail on the seas, then this would work perfectly. So yeah, we have some tide pups parked over here, and on the other side it is more of a workshop because we have the mega lab there as well as a little bit of storage. Other than that, what you can do is, of course, utilize these spaces with a bit of storage, and even an additional forge can easily fit inside so that you can smelt your metal. You have a bit more of a work area over here with some different crafting stations on there. And then, of course, the stairs will lead you into the main building where you can do all of your proper crafting in a crafting room. You can have your storage, you have your beautiful balconies to enjoy your views, and then of course you can have your whole base here, the tribe meetings, little kitchen as well. And if you wanted to, you can easily add another layer on top. Then over here we have a nice relaxing space for your tribe mates to log out or just to hang out, park those little critters on a nice pet bed, etc. You can do whatever you want, but you can see you definitely have a decent amount of space and some lovely views everywhere. And again, you can build it wherever you want, whether it's in addition to your base, just some extra space on top of the shipyard, or a little outpost because your base is maybe not in the ocean biome. I think it is definitely a really cool little concept. So yeah, there we go. That's going to be it for today's build tutorial. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and of course feel free to leave your suggestions for future builds down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next video or the next stream. For now, goodbye.